Hello and welcome as today's date comes in that of Thursday, the 18th of April, 2019. My name is Derek. All bets trades of the like within each his own risk and their own reward. Let's take a look at gold, silver, the SPY, and the Bitcoin prices. The gold in at 12 and 3 quarters. But after having support here for about 4 days, support here for about 7, we have had price action break down below this after we had support there for 1 day on April 15th. Next day it breaks below, pause day yesterday, and really even a continuation of more of the same thing. It's a little, and just a little underextend or overextended the downside, meaning it's barely below the 18 lows. So it could very easily have an okay correction, just a correctionary phase at 1285, and then again lowering from 1295. But it could easily, and it should look like it's doing it with the pause movement, that we could have a little bit of further decline, maybe hit 1262, 1263. Obviously, we got these lower highs, so any significant rallies on the 18 and here, it has to make a higher high at least just to even as one of its starts and changing this downtrend into an uptrend. Silver's a hair below 15 and showing weakness for about the fifth day in a row, sixth day amongst this 18 average of lows. It had its it had its resistance here, but unable to not get above it, unable to support where it came from at about 15.11. Instead, it's resisted that level on a couple of occasions, and it's really having big battle within this current level of support. So just like gold, we got these highs, got to get above, at least got to get above and hold above the 15 and a third to do, as I state, not only just even start to even consider the uptrend, because it is in a downtrend as well. But we've had, but another leg lower, 1450, 1440, and even down to the previous lows of 14 could easily happen, and it's looking more in jeopardy or more probable that it will happen. Next up, the S&P 500, which all of these gaps, all of the, and I talk about it all the time, but yesterday's gap, it closed the day before here at, well, I can see the numbers on the right, on top left. 290.16, then it gapped open at 291.40, closing down to that 289 number. Today's session opening at two. How much of a difference was it here? 45 cents lower because we opened at 289 after closing 289.45. Not the biggest of the gaps here, and it's starting its upward move on the session in the early bits. And okay, you know what? So be it. But if the market's been open, and it says pre-market up top, that means stuff is trading, and I know in the hourly time frame I ain't gonna see anything for the current action. It's 9:13 a.m. as I'm doing this. And amongst it, at least right now, we know it gapped open at 289, which is right down in here. And it's close to 290, right here, 289.92. So a nice big green candle back up to this level of resistance. I gotta imagine it with my head or draw it in personally, which I'm not gonna do. And then you can see more for the gaps in here. There's this gap. Can we find the gap on each day? I mean, that's almost a game you can play. Well, here, this one, I mean, this is the gap here. How about in here? This one, without even looking at the times, I guess you could just do the count. There's 7 hours in a day or 6 hours. But it looks like maybe in here. I, no, no, no. This is the gap. That's obvious right here. That's not even close. Of course, this one is obvious. And then we have the gap open here. And then the gap open here. I mean, every single day there's a gap open here. Let's go back even more so in time. I mean, easy. Gap open, gap open. Okay, obviously in here the gap opens there. And I mean, I know you get used to the fact, even if you didn't, even if you were doing this and they were all the same, it really would be a matter of knowing where 7 in advance is, right? But the gap opens, the gap. I mean, if you're gonna have trading, trade it for everybody. It's really it is a frustrating situation, and it to me tells me that old system versus new systems, the old systems just aren't as good. as these new ones in here because I'm gonna be moving over to crypto soon, but in that sense there, everyone is accessible to trade at all times. There isn't any of this, oh, it's closed. And even then, that would be fine if it was closed for everybody. So, 18 average on here was support. On the short term, we can see it is resisting in that able. If it's able to get above, oh, it already has to 290. Well, that would be able to make this barely going down back to neutral. And it would also state that if you have a rally up here and then you give it back and then go below, there's your sign of point high, the weakness, the bear market rally, if you will, or the failed rally attempt, and you see it coming back down. Then we would be seeing maybe this start to roll over and do a little bit of a bear market thing. And in stocks, markets go down a lot faster than they go up. And as we move into cryptos, there's a spot where to go from here to here, that was 2 weeks. To go from here to here, that was 3 weeks. And then when you have situations where markets go down like this, get all the gains back. Down like this, all the gains back fast. That's just the way the cryptos seem to work. And another way of putting it is the amount of time that's taken from go to here down to here. Going back to this level, oh, it will be faster. As far as Bitcoin, this pattern, another one that is just wowing me each and every day. So when I talk about my vocabulary that I use that's unique to me, and I would have a lot of it in backgammon because I've never really talked to, I've only talked to one person really who has really any okay knowledge of backgammon, and really not much at a high level. In fact, not much at an intermediate level. And so I learned how to play backgammon by myself, and a lot of the lingos that I learned was vocabulary I made. So when I talk about strength amongst the 18 highs, that's totally my vocabulary. I don't know anyone else who even, well, I can't say that. I like to say I don't know anyone else who uses it, but there's been a couple of comments of people that say that they use it, like as big, like I do, like really as a major component to their portfolio or their arsenal of knowledge and what they do, or indicators for that matter. Because what else do you see? I got lines. Okay, I'll put them in. I love horizontal lines, and that's about it. Volume, but so be it. You have anytime you have a big move, oh, big volume, yeah. Well, any big move up or down should have big volume because you need a lot of orders to go that up or that far high or that far low. But since this rally, nice little up move. But since this day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days showing strength on the 18 average of highs. So how do we label every single day? Give it its story. Well, day number one in here was a continuation of the down move that managed to have its little bit of a lower high rally, and it met up with that highs. Pause day the next day, it just happened to be at the highs. Then the next day, it has a small rally, enough to stay in with the 18 average of highs, and it didn't go below its lows much at all that day. The next day, it didn't go much above its highs, thus it was already at the 18 of such. It had a good red candle pullback, but almost good. Why do I say almost good instead of good? Because it didn't get quite to the lows, but close enough. Still a noticeable down move. But the next day, it gives it all back. And even a little bit more since the 18 average is rising barely, it had a barely higher high. And it closed right at the highs, and thus establishing what has been in play the previous few days, more strength of this resistance mark. And I'm going to put a temporarily horizontal ray in here. The reason why is because when shortening out, you could probably see its importance. And the pattern itself of big, the three candles together, you put those three together, that's very bullish. And then we can see how we yesterday had a spot where it had a pause moment, didn't really move up or down much at all, technically was up, but it stays with the highs. Today is the exact same thing as yesterday. And how this is painting out. Man, this is almost like telling you, like screaming, like, hey, I'm ready to go. I'm just going to pop up and do this big, big up move. That's how I'm reading this right now. Of course, market and price action is going to do what it's going to do. And that line that I drew in there. So from that, okay, it was an area of that resistance obviously became support. It lifted off from that level, and now we see it supporting in here, which was the general area of the resistance that originally established on this 13-hour timestamp. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do is my best at a freehand draw. And what I'm going to draw in is I take this little button here, but I have it pushed where you can't see it. So that's what I'm pushing is here, which is a drawing tool. I mean, I push it all the time. And it's a little off here. Who cares? So this line in here has been this 18 average of highs general area. So as we resist in here, it's a higher number from before, hence we can see support in here, but falling from it, that's exactly where it goes back to, holding in, but not having a chance to break down, not doing it. And I know you can just draw it in above this little part in here. Another chance here to break down. But so far it's holding in pretty good amongst its moves, so that's all excellent. Okay, now I'm trying to find my delete tool, and I know one way is pushing Control Z on a computer, a typewriter, which didn't work. Maybe because I was in a new. Okay, now I got it back. So I want to delete that. Maybe because I changed my time frames to Control Z, which is undo. Didn't work. 15 minutes before I did this video was looking nice though. And it continues to look even better. For we have in here the, and I think the hourly might have had the same portrait as the daily. Maybe wrong. I thought I seen it. I was like, oh my goodness, that looks, I thought I seen it this morning. That looks like the daily. But as far as the, and I'll go to that next after this, but on the move here, there's resisting the highs, breaking it above, coming back and breaking out again. So this is that comeback. Are we going to get lift-off support here? That's another word that I made. Maybe somebody else uses it, just lifting off from an area where you're having support. And I'd be looking short term at a move up here, but single hour did it? No. Was it here last night? It might have been this from last night. Yeah, that makes the most sense. So, no, it wasn't from this morning. It was from yesterday. And as the hourly goes, since that amazing pattern came into play. So just imagine on Bitcoin, we could have this thing fail, then come back down and just range for like over a month. But no, no, no. Well, maybe. But no, 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 as I don't know. How about that? Well, yes, 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 I don't know. Or no, 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 I do know? No? Okay. Anyway, heavily supported or used in here. Resistance heavily done amongst in here. So we're supporting this little area and this level. Within the hourly, holding and staying above 52 and 2/3 for a decent amount of time. Should be pretty good. But even here, it held and stayed above this, so this should be pretty good. And, well, probably, or maybe it still may be. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.